today's segment is going to be on a level 10 meeting. This is the standard meeting process company-wide and corporate-wide here at DCS. And it's intended to do a couple things. It's intended to keep everybody's time at the meeting limited and efficient. Time is money. We're all very busy. We want to make sure that we're using that time in the meeting to be productive. So, the whole purpose of the level 10 meeting is to give a structure that gets you in and out the door in 45 minutes to an hour. It's fantastic, and it's going to save you a ton of time. And the second piece on this is we want to leave that meeting with at least 3 action items that we're going to take away from the meeting that we're going to get started on immediately. 3 things that we're going to do that are going to make us work to solve the problems that were discussed in the meeting and eventually, ultimately make the company better. So just to run through this quick, we utilize it in our sales meetings, we utilize it in our corporate meetings, we utilize this in our monthly leadership meetings. Fantastic tool. There's an outline of it in the portal for your access, so you can always print it out, utilize the form if needed, and utilize that as your meeting agenda. So great tool. Encourage you to use it. But I want to run through it real quick just so you guys get a good idea as to exactly what the different sections and segments of that meeting entail. And then we'll conclude with a couple of examples. Cut. I want to delete that last part. So the first section of the level 10 meeting that I want to talk about, awesome sauce. It's kind of a corny name. Don't know who came up with that. Actually, I do. But it's meant to shed some light on the positives that are happening throughout your franchise. What are some of the goals being accomplished? What are some of the good things that are happening? We always want to start the meeting off on a positive note. Make everything upbeat, uplifting, and we want everybody to be in the right frame of mind to begin to talk about some of the roadblocks and problems that they may be having, but have that positive mentality that we can work through them. So I always write down a quick list of items that I know are going well and things that people are doing very well. I write those down and we share them and talk about them, the first thing when we get in the meeting. Usually lasts about 10 minutes or so. The second piece of the level 10 meeting is the metrics section. So what we want to talk about, we want to talk about in this piece the company scorecards that we utilize, the employee diagnostics, the items that we utilize to put a numeric value on how the processes are going, how employees are performing, so on and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll spend 10 minutes or so just discussing those metrics, talk about any lower numbers that we see. It's really easy to pick out, where we're falling down when we have that numeric value attached to it. So we'll pick out the 1s and 2s, sometimes the 3s, and we'll just talk about how we can make those a 2, 3, or 4 and make them better. So that'll go on for about 10 minutes or so, and then what we want to do is review the projects that have been ongoing. All right, so any action items that were discussed in the meeting prior, we want to follow up on those. So it's a cycle of talking about problems, putting steps in place to fix them, and then executing on those action items that we put in place. So want to follow up on those projects, see how they're going, talk about any roadblocks that are preventing them from being accomplished, and then move forward from there with the action plan as far as how we're going to finish out those projects and what we're going to do to solve any of the roadblocks that come up. The next section is very important, probably the most important of the meeting, and it's where you really get into some of the nitty-gritty items. You confront problems and issues head on. It's the issue discussion. So, I like to think of it, especially at corporate, where we need to face the brutal facts and confront the truth head on, right? If you have an employee who is not doing exactly what they're supposed to do, if they're not fulfilling the role you need them to do, if their attitude is bad, so on and so forth, this is the time to talk about it. I look at it as a family coming together, having an argument over dinner, figuring out a way to fix it, and then moving forward so that the next day things will be better. Same concept here. So we want to talk about any issues that are being faced, with other employees. We want to talk about issues with clients, any problems or roadblocks that you can think of, and we'll work to come up with solutions to fix those items. Again, we only want to present problems or solution. We want to present solutions with problems. So with that in mind, the problems that are coming out during the meeting, folks need to be prepared to have a solution in place, and then we'll talk about how to fix those problems. And then the final piece is the action items. What steps are we going to take, and what are we going to do walking away from that meeting that are going to solve the problems that we talked about? What first steps are we going to take to accomplish them? And then we'll follow up the next meeting in the project review section on how those action items are going, or any additional roadblocks that are faced. So level 10 meeting, it's very simple. Just to recap, it shouldn't take very long. It is very important that whoever is administering the meeting, that they spend 10 minutes or so the day before just running through and getting on paper exactly what needs to be talked about, and then we can print that out, distribute it at the meeting so everybody has a clear agenda as far as what's going to be discussed. And that's it.